You are listening to Something Rather Than Nothing. Creator and host, Ken Vellante. Editor and producer, Peter Bauer.
Hey everybody, this is the Something Rather Than Nothing podcast, and I am excited to have the guest that I have on, Keeli Littleleaf, and Keeli's a fashion designer, artist, helps to run native fashion shows, an activist on the important issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit. Really happy to have you on the program, Keeli. Welcome.
Thank you, Ken.
Friend of the show, Cola Shippentower, was talking about your work, and I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to learn a bit more about, let's say, fashion, Indigenous fashion, and your work around it. And also, I was quite thrilled to read about design jingle dresses, and I have a paucity in my understanding about kind of the history of native design, but like the jingle dress. There's a lot of different things to talk about, but can you start by telling us a bit about your creativity in native fashion and how you create a venue to display and show and celebrate Indigenous fashion?
Absolutely, Ken. Well, thank you to anyone that's listening and tuning in. Nekpachwai and Minay Muma Hahato Exlama Wanishash Ayayat Washasha Wanishash Keeli Littleleaf Tananawat Shataikni to Blackfeet. To you, I said, hello, good day, everybody. My name is Keeli Littleleaf. My English name is Keeli Littleleaf. My Indian name is Ayayat Washasha, which translates to beautiful dancing. I'm from Piikani Nation, Blackfeet, Brockett, Alberta, Canada, and I'm also a descendant of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, located in Oregon. My creativity really just comes from my adherence to our cultural knowledge and traditions while trying to uphold our customary beliefs, also shedding light on modernization, on exploration, and cultural identity through fashion. Truly, my purpose with getting involved was to give other young ladies a sense of pride and joy when seeing the fashion industry, the entertainment industry, and trying to propel them as well, giving them a voice, giving them, spaces to be, and opening up doors that they might otherwise see closed. So really it's kind of like a effervescent hub of just everything Indigenous fashion. For me, I like to see other people's cultures and other people's customs be incorporated into various fashion forms, whatever that may be, whether it's jewelry, clothes, accessories, couture, streetwear. I think there's so much beauty in all avenues. So really just creating a platform and a space for that has been the ultimate goal, Ken.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Uh, so tell us, like, going back, I asked about creativity and like, when you were young or you growing up, like, did all of a sudden you say like to yourself, like, I'm an artist, I'm a creator? Like, was there a moment, just as far as your background in relation to creativity?
Um, well, it all happened by accident, Ken. So if you will, I didn't really grow up in a reservation setting. I grew up in the city and then also, had spent time on the reservation, but didn't like grow up there. So really, once I became a little more self-aware as a child, I wanted to get more involved with my culture and I found identity there. Um, so I had a beading lesson from one of my aunties up in Mount Hood, and it took one afternoon, and she made me make this tiny little like rosette thing. And it was slow at first, first couple hours, but I spent all day trying to get this little tiny rosette done, this circular pattern of beadwork. And I kept running out of thread because I was getting somewhere. And by the end of the day, I came to her and I showed her what I had produced. And just being an 8-year-old kid, having produced a whole piece of beadwork in a day was quite miraculous, I guess.
Wow.
And she kind of said, you're a prodigy. And I fell in love with it after that. And I've now been beading for 22 years since I was that 8-year-old little girl. I'm 30 now. And so that creativity really just came from, I think, a sense of finding myself through that art form, and then being able to express it further in the places and avenues I was going. And beadwork kind of became my safe place, my sense of like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is my creation, and it kind of became like an inner working coming out. And I hope that answers your question, Ken.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I kind of keyed in when you were talking about it, like being maybe young and precocious and producing something, just having somebody else say like kind of holy shit, like look at that, like I can't believe what you did, Um that's just an incredible thing. So it happened young. Tell us about like I'm on the show, on the podcast. I love talking about creators and kind of like learning, kind of like different ways of creating, and also like some of the background. You know, I've seen just the absolutely beautiful photographs, both of the models and the clothing they wear. And I've seen maybe more indigenous fashion shows, at least in the Pacific Northwest, kind of advertised and displayed. Like, I'm not a fashion expert, but like for me, I have the feel like not only in the creation and what's worn, but in aspects of the ceremony and presentation, that there's something particular about indigenous fashion. And am I correct in assuming that, or like just saying what is it maybe that somebody who go there would see that might feel different than maybe a standard fashion show?
Absolutely, Ken. So let's talk about the stereotypes for a second.
Yeah,
Throughout, modern media, there has been romanticized ideals of the American Indian. You've seen it in, various Caucasian fashion shows, big corporate, all types of different variations of that stereotypical headdress, fringe, turquoise. Apparently, we ride buffaloes and speak with animals, that type of thing, right?
yeah,
Um, and so at these fashion shows that Indigenous people are holding, typically we want to break those stereotypes. There are so many different tribal nations across the USA and Canada that have different variations of their culture, their beliefs, their clothing, and really trying to own in on those particular tribal designs for those particular tribal artists is important to acknowledge. That acknowledgement is a huge key factor in, the pride and succession of what these artists are trying to do. Um, so really owning our indigenous hood, if you will, and taking it back, breaking those westernized beauty standards and colonial mindsets, and really trying to portray our best light. My grandma, she always said, wear your best, wear your Sunday best. That means your hair is nice and braided. That means your moccasins are on fleek. And throughout the ages, I think regardless of any nation you visit, they always looked particularly beautiful or regal, or in a sense took pride in what they made and then wore. Um, Traditionally, in those really old photographs, you see women wearing their buckskin, wearing their ribbon skirts, wearing these different items of clothing. And the clothing not only was significant to where they come from, but also what kind of community standing they were in, how much wealth they had, how successful they were in their own perspectives. So with that, I think it's just bringing a sense of identity again to the piece, to our audiences, and having that exploration into education about why these pieces are the way they are, about why they're here, how they were constructed, what's the ideals, the stories behind them.
I in particular in conversation, just like about design, is like the in different traditions, the fantastic color and color combinations. But there's another piece too I had mentioned about the jingle dress. Like normally I don't think about fashion or think about like that type of design and say, what about sound? And can you tell me, like, can you take a stab or just like help me out, like as far as like the significance not only in the design but of the sound of like say the jingle dress, because I know you, you have a particular proficiency and gift in that area as well.
I've done a thing or two, Ken.
I noticed.
Well, Jingle Dress first and foremost is my love and passion. That is my safe space. Truly, in my youth, the style and the way of life and power culture surrounding the Jingle Dress, I would say probably saved my life in multiple aspects. Kept me sober, it kept me on a good path. But the Jingle Dress is really special. And the origin story, I'll give you a brief kind of rundown because this varies from place to place. I was taught by an Anishinaabe lady over from the Great Lakes, and that's where the jingle dress is said to come from. And pretty much, it's a story about a young lady who fell ill, and because the love of her father and love of Creator, um, her father was gifted a dream, and there were very specific instructions in this dream to construct a dress, a garment really, but a garment of prayers. Um, and so it said in the story, when he constructed these dresses, he put prayers into each and every single cone. And he did this multiple times. He created a few dresses and then had his girl also dressed down in one of these sacred dresses because he had so much prayers. He just wanted her to get better. And so as the community was dancing each round, she was able to come to and get better and heal. And the sickness finally lifted from her as the dancers were dancing, the prayers coming up through their feet, through their dresses, emulating that sound and that energy. Because there scientifically there is energy in sound. So I believe this. Even the Northern Lights have a very similar sound to this dress. If you ever hear them, it's like kush, 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 kush. But the sickness lifted from this girl and it lifted from her people in the region. And so since that day, that dress was considered medicine, considered healing to all who heard it, seen it, felt it, danced it. And I think that resonates with so many people because our communities definitely need healing in a multitude. So from then on, it kind of flourished and grew. It was almost lost to us, around the 20s to 50s. And then it just took a couple ladies from those regions to bring it back. And people were like, wow, we really like this. And then it kind of rejuvenated and became a consistent powwow category. And those old traditional dresses, if you see in like pictures and stuff, they're very like muted and mundane and with respect, a little bit, ugly. But through powwows and contesting, as everybody does, it evolves. And for a long time, the jingle dress wasn't such a popular category, so we had to share the floor with fancy shawl dancers. And those dancers are like the most modern, high, like aptitude, athletic dancers in our styles. And so they're always, looking flashy and big and bright and colorful. And so the jingle dress kind of became almost its own style. And now it is acknowledged as its own style. And there's two styles. So there's the old style, which emulates more of that old feeling traditional style. And then there's the contemporary, which is pretty much made to fit in with those fancy dancers.
Oh, thank you so much. That's such well, I could feel my breath holding up a couple times. A beautiful story behind that, and I think I was just so enthralled. I haven't seen it live and heard it live like once, maybe a year or two back, and being around it, and like my brain kind of exploded with wonder. Of like you said, of the sound being healing and being like, wow, like so it was really moving and just really precious and thinking about medicine and healing and just again like it's such an eye oriented thing like for us in general like to think about of the dress, but that sound is just I could feel how you describe. Thank you for so much uh for giving some more of that background and its reclamation. I wanted to ask you, Keely, I wanted to ask you one of the conceptual questions of the show as an artist and creator, and that you do quite a few things in creation. Um, what is art? What is art? Why do you or veer towards art and creativity? What is it?
Ken, I honestly think it's because my right brain wars with my left brain internally. And I need balance. Jingle dress dancing is balanced. I want to be a balanced person. My day job, I work in banking. So there are specific answers. With art, there's no there's no rhyme or reason. There doesn't have to be. It can be expression, it can be, self-discovery, it can be so many different things. That art, I think, is almost a pop culture in my mind. And I just get the best feeling from being able to bring something into creation. And my creations seem to resonate with people in different ways and different manners. And what really makes me the happiest is when they resonate in such a way where others feel something a little bit further that they didn't otherwise think was there.
Yeah, I love that. When you're talking about the healing for yourself and the jingle dress, I was thought of somebody very close to me was moving into sobriety house and it's been a very good experience in holding their sobriety and when they first went there was the drum circle out there, the red road of indigenous healing and acceptance. And I just like I tell you, I can't tell you how moved I was, like as with worry around this. I've been sober from alcohol for 16 years, but also those close to me. And I don't know, just even hearing talk about the sound of the jingle dress, it's like there's these opportunities that are just right there, um, that have just really helped me and my family. And it was just a really beautiful, important thing that they encountered, like an openness and a care and a eye towards healing. And so I really picked up on your point of with the jingle dress and creativity and how difficult it can be sometimes, but the medicine, the healing that can be nearby or surprising has been particularly important for me. So I really felt that when you're talking about that.
William, congratulations on so many years of sobriety.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, really special, and all the things that can help me help keep me keep my brain balance, including doing art, including talking to you, Keely Littleleaf, and learning about you and learning about art. How about this? Can you take us into like Keely, you put these things together, you're heavily involved putting let's see the fashion show. Can you just like take us into like not all like the details that might not be exciting, but like what's the presentation like? What happens? What type of models and designers are there when you put on a show?
I really like giving equal opportunity to everybody. I think the buzz comes from just the unknown. Every show is different. Every show is ran a little bit, just different than everything. And when bringing people together, really it's just to have the best intention with that. You want to see people succeed in whatever avenues they are. So, being open-minded to those differences and being open-hearted. Um, I know my productions are always all inclusive, body positive, no lateral oppression or lateral violence against each other. I think we have enough of that, in other aspects of the world. And really just propelling, indigenous fashion, business, entertainment with our designers. Just I think all avenues are beautiful. There's really no discrimination. I never ask for tribal ID or, enrollment. I never ask for them to, do much of anything except just bring their beauty and their homage to the stage for eyes to see. With this last show, the one ask I did have of the various designers was to have a look dedicated to MMIP or MMIW. This is not to try and glamorize the movement by any means. This is not a pretty subject, which I always, when speaking about this, I always, give kind of a disclosure that it's hard. And I'm not just the one voice about it, So many people have been affected in various ways from this crisis within our community that it's very hard to sometimes speak on. So instead of speaking on it, I feel like sometimes the best way to show support, to show advocacy, hopes for justice and a brighter tomorrow is to have visuals and to honor those that haven't been found or haven't, gotten the acknowledgement. And so that red color, red being the only color spirits see in a lot of our lore and a lot of the various nations across the USA and Canada, I believe. In hopes this brings a sense of closure and also a sense of hope that there can be continued support, continued success, and um, a means to an end for this pandemic that's been hurting Indian country for honestly forever.
Yeah, I was shocked the consciousness about it within, I think it was very important too, the visual display. Like you said, not there has to be a balance of like, the visual representation of something so deeply historically intense and wrong. But for me, my brother's a runner, so I like first thing I saw was uh, um, Rosalie Fish and Jordan Marie brings three white horses, Daniel, with the mark on the face and the paint. And it was a shock to consciousness. It prompted all the questions. I'm like, what is this? And so I would say even from that point in doing this show 6 years ago, it was that singular, what is that? And running and so that it brought me into it. And really is helped me create deeper relationships, and having somebody like you, Keely, on the show to talk about this. And I'm really proud of my own exploration and trip ups, honestly. But, the trip ups have led me to a deeper understanding of this is an important issue for me. I had forgotten I taught, like, for example, of like these ancillary things that can happen. I visited my dad out east a couple weeks ago, visited my family. And I mentioned this maybe 3 years ago. I was like, "Hey, hey, family, do you know like this is happening? Do you understand like that this is?" And they were kind of like, "Whoa!" And my dad watched a movie or two, and he came back and talked to me. I was like, I didn't remember like kind of like being like, "Hey, you need to know this." So it's like just kind of years later, and it's just this feeling of like when it shows up and bringing about awareness, and maybe it's just like the visual or something else or a story, it can lead people. I truly believe in unexpected people to be like, that's like seriously wrong. Like there's this unreality. I think sometimes that can't happen. There's laws here, and it's like of breaking
Yeah.
through and saying this is a true ongoing historical atrocity that so anyways I like in a sense of never knowing how to come in contact with it, and when then you do, I really appreciate everything you do. I know in talking to Cola Tower, a friend and a guest on the show, again deepening my learning and trying to um fight injustice, look for safety, that people should be able to walk, move, run
Mhm.
freely, and that there should be protections against the worst type of crimes. So,
Yeah.
um,
And COLA is a great resource for, not only self-defense and personal safety, but also just as someone that has been, personally affected by the pandemic, and has a lot of accolades to behind what she does. She's a professional athlete, and actually she's one of my main models too for my brand. So she'll be accompanying me to Palm Desert next weekend, which is incredible. She
saw
was featured
that.
in.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah. I saw the ad for that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. So it's called Gathering Under the Stars, and it's at the California Nations Indian College in Palm Desert, California. I am the featured designer there, so I'll be showcasing with a lot of local talent, but then I do try and make it kind of a habit to bring a couple of my own models, just because there's certain designs or certain things like I make specifically for them to showcase, because they inspire me for various reasons, or they have, a sense of they know how to wear these garments and what they're about. So it's more of a personal touch. Kola actually was in New York, and she wore two designs for me this last year at Red Horizons Fashion Show. So she wore my jingle dress and I made her dance a jingle song, which was really cool. Um, and then I also had her wear these wings. And I am a huge lover of Victoria's Secret fashion. I'll put it out there.
Yeah.
I don't know, just ever since I was a little girl, I've wanted to design for Victoria's Secret, and so I've made my own renditions of the wings.
Yeah. Those. Yeah. The large.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just waiting until they pick me up someday, Ken. But
Hey,
um,
I mean, I'll just say, like in general, I'm more for everything that you're talking about. Like yeah, that's all good.
but I did design some specifically for the MMIP MMIW movement, and so I made it a community effort. I bejeweled one half of the wings, to be pretty and beautiful and eye-catching. And then on the other side of the wings, I put the names of various missing or murdered people within our own community. And then I put in bright, bold letters, let's talk about it. And that's to signify, the glamorization of everything. It's a duality of, trying to pull people in and then having the conversation about what this actually really means, having that deeper layer, that deeper meaning, and continuing to advocate and acknowledge what has happened. And I think it's a great way through fashion because you have so many eyes on you, and then people are, they're wondering what's this? What does this mean? Like, let's talk about it. And then it's a perfect open airway to talk about, hey, this is a visual of how many are still missing, who still haven't, received their justice or received closure. So um, what can we do? Where can we start? How can we get government more involved? How can we create, funding for searches and for these I think what should be mandatory um, investigations. There needs to be a lot more justice.
Can you let us know if folks are interested here? I'm more interested, of course, but where to find your work, your creativity, potentially resources about MMIW, MMIP, places to lead folks to, because you do a whole bunch, and I'd really love people to come in contact with your work.
Absolutely, Ken. Well, all of you can find me at Keeli Littleleaf, spelled exactly how it sounds on Facebook. That is my only form of social media at this time, as well as my YouTube channel, which is far outdated, but you can see some dancing snippets if you're ever interested. I will be launching my website, House of Ayayat, at the I want to say beginning of December, and I will have links to all the associated brands, including Advocacy, which is a nonprofit organization based out of Grand Ron, specializing in advocacy for MMIP and MMIW. I will also have links to Native Queens Design, which is my producer for a lot of my garments at this time, as well as sourcing my own garments in the future that I've been working on. I'll have my full portfolio collection, access to open model calls, all of my model portals so that from previous shows, they can view their walks and their videos, photos, items like that. I'll also have a missing persons board on my website as well. So if anybody in the local community needs support, just having that open dialogue for interpersonal connection. And I will just link all of that on my website, and also links to art forms like this, podcasts, interviews, all types of things, so that you can stay up to date all in one place.
I tell you, I mean, at least for me with the website and everything going on there, thank you very much. I'll be looking forward to seeing it. And just really deep thanks. It's truly an honor, Keely, and I know we haven't met before, but it's truly an honor to be able to speak with you and to talk about these important and beautiful things, and difficult things as well. But really appreciate everything you do. Best of luck in the upcoming shows, and we should chat again soon. There's a whole bunch, since you do so much, there's a whole bunch I could see myself walking with you and talking with you about further on. So thank you so much for coming on to the Something Rather Than Nothing podcast.
Absolutely, Ken. Thank you for having me. Have a good day, everyone.
Take care, Keely.
Thank you, Ken. You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This is Something Rather Than Nothing.